is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here for NXT on Off the Script. This is your review for October 9th, 2019, week number 2 in the Wednesday Night War. If you want to even go that far this week, between NXT and AEW All Elite Wrestling. Now, this is the second week in a row that I watched AEW live from 8 to 10. I did my podcast, I uploaded for you guys, and then I went right back into the living room with a nice hot cup of tea, and I watched NXT from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m., which is a lot more enjoyable on DVR, where I could fast forward through the commercials. I don't know, and I know it's not me being exhausted, which I was very exhausted last night. It's not me being exhausted. I watch NXT. Now, if this was Monday Night Raw, I would have been asleep in a half an hour. I watch NXT always, with eyes wide open. I don't know if you guys felt the same way last night, but I feel like WWE just did not even bother competing with AEW. Now, I don't mean that in a bad way. I really don't. And I wish that everybody would just say, screw the ratings. Don't worry or concern yourself about the ratings. NXT has to do what NXT has to do, which right now, the only thing that NXT should be worrying about is War Games. And AEW should be worrying about what AEW has to do and getting themselves ready for Baltimore and Full Gear. I wish it was like that. Jericho dropped some pipe bombs on NXT on Dynamite. WWE didn't really say anything regarding the Wednesday Night War. They went about business as usual, and what their business as usual is putting on quality TV shows, which NXT last night was a quality 2-hour wrestling show. It wasn't the greatest, it wasn't last week, but it was still a great show. The vibe that I got was one in which they didn't even bother putting in any effort to compete with AEW. And great, that's the way it should be. But it was just a regular run-of-the-mill NXT show with no real progression towards storylines outside of the Undisputed Era. That is all that we're getting right now as far as storylines go. We got Drew Gulak and Lio Rush for the Cruiserweight Championship. This match came about in 1 week. Lio Rush was off TV. He was being punished by WWE management. They bring him back in the role that he should have been in since the beginning. Put in a match with Drew Gulak, and he's got a Cruiserweight Championship. No real story there outside of him beating Oney Lorcan to become a number 1 contender. Fine. It's a match. It was a great match for what it was, but there's no real storyline there. Then we got the Undisputed Era. We know what's going on with Adam Cole. We know what's going on with Finn Balor coming back and eyeing the NXT Championship. We know what's going on with Tommaso Ciampa coming back and eyeing Goldie again. We know what's going on with Roderick Strong and the Velveteen Dream. Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish do not have opponents as of right now for War Games. Or Undisputed Era, I should say, doesn't have opponents for War Games. And this is where WWE's priority should be. But I feel like we're not even at that point yet where they can begin building towards War Games, and it's only a month away. So when are we going to get the build for War Games? You could go either way with War Games. I don't know what they have planned. You could do the easy thing and pit Imperium versus Undisputed Era, but do they have any issue on NXT TV? The answer is no. And you can't do that because it would just be NXT giving you a dream match of sorts inside a great gimmick. And that's all it is. I want what I want from NXT, which is story and then match. Because the story is going to make you much more invested in what's going on in the match. You could do the Undisputed Era versus a mixture of Finn Balor, Tommaso Ciampa, maybe you throw in Matt Riddle, maybe you throw in Dream. I don't know where they go. Maybe you could substitute Johnny in there and then we could get DIY in the cage against Undisputed Era, being that there is a major history there between both Ciampa, Gargano, and the Undisputed Era. I don't know where they're going. When is it going to come? When are we going to start getting the build for War Games? Seems like NXT, the last couple of weeks, as soon as they got to the USA Network, for, I would say, 4 weeks now. We had the first 2 1-hour shows. Then we had the 2-hour season premiere last week, which was a takeover on USA Network, pretty much. And then we got this week. That makes 4 weeks of WWE just throwing random matches out there with barely any storyline. And NXT is known for their storylines. It's like they went in yesterday's show and really didn't give a shit about putting on a great show. And I don't know what the reason behind that is. I really do wish that they stay this way and just focus on storylines and less on the ratings, because when they focus more on the ratings, then the quality of the shows is not really going to make much sense. If you guys get where I'm going with this. Once they start worrying about what someone else is doing, then they start their downhill decline. I don't want to see that happen. And even last night's show, you put matches together for the sake of drawing attention away from AEW, who has the same audience as you. You're putting dream matches together for the sake of putting dream matches together. Rush and Gulak was made to give you an exciting open to the show, which is fine. Then you got Kushida and Walter in the main event, which is a non-title United Kingdom Championship match. Why was that match made? There's no issue between Kushida and Walter, no matter what they tried to tell you on WWE TV the last couple of weeks. Imperium showed up unexpected. They were there. Nobody really knows who Imperium is with this audience. The only one who knows who Imperium, or I should say Walter is AEW's audience. So you're merely putting, with no storyline behind it, you're putting Walter in the main event against Kushida, who is also another highly regarded independent wrestler before he came over to NXT. You're putting 2 guys who are highly regarded in the eyes of this audience in the main event in hopes that you get them to watch what you're doing in the main event instead of going over to AEW and watching what they're doing in their main event. So you're still kind of focused on the ratings, but you didn't at the same time, and you're putting shit together with really no logic and no storyline behind it. So who are you harming here? NXT needs to get back to the basics. It really does. I'm not saying it wasn't a good show. I just honestly felt like they just threw out an NXT show that we would usually see at 1 hour on the WWE Network. They gave it to you for 2 hours, and they didn't really put any effort into this show like they did last week. And it seems like after AEW beat them in the ratings, they're like, I don't think this is going to be a good deal. We're just going to go right back to what we're doing, and we're going to expand it to 2 hours. But even then, again, the priority is War Games. Where is that? I don't see it. So when is it coming? Yeah, we could get the Ciampas and the Coles and the Balors and the Garganos, who has been on TV 2 times since TakeOver. So it's like, what's going on in NXT? Do they know what they're doing? Are they overwhelmed? Are they stressing out that they now have to write live TV every week and at an extra hour? I don't want to say I'm worried about NXT, but again, all the signs are there. All the signs that I previously mentioned in the podcast, all the signs are there. Seems like they don't care. Seems like they didn't want to be in this war to begin with. If you ask Triple H about what he would want with NXT, he would stay on the WWE Network at 1 hour doing his own thing and still producing the best fucking show that WWE has during its week. He don't want to compete with AEW. He doesn't. And I guarantee you, if you sat that man down, he would say he doesn't want to compete with AEW. How could they? How could they? You could add the Balors and you could add all these main roster guys. It's not going to work. You either are NXT or you're not. They failed to deliver new eyes after last week's show, which is fucking unbelievable, being that was a takeover on basic cable television. And they didn't do it then. What are you going to do? What is going to work? You think it's going to work now with the Coles and the Roderick Strongs and the Velveteen Dreams and the return of a Tommaso Ciampa? It's not going to work. Look at the show you gave us last week compared to this week. How many people tuned out this week after not even tuning in this week to find that it wasn't as exciting as AEW? This entire concept of Wednesday warfare is proving to be ridiculous. Like I mentioned, this is all about Vince McMahon and his ego. AEW is not a fluke. Everybody thought it was going to be a fluke. Everybody was like, oh, they're going to close up shop in less than a year. Clearly not. The excitement and the desire and the want for something like AEW is growing and growing and growing and growing every single week. And I mentioned on the review last night, consistency. Week 1 was a success. Week 2 was an even bigger success, no matter what the ratings are. Week 3, if they come out swinging and give us another great show, that's what I call a winning streak. I don't know if NXT, no matter how great it is, and we all know that it is, we don't need to compare them to AEW to say that NXT was great. No matter how great they are, I don't think they're going to overtake the momentum of AEW. You can look at these shows and figure out which is a bigger deal. You set NXT up for failure. Now they want to move them out of Full Sail University. Why is that? Why is that? They were fine minding their own business on the WWE Network at Full Sail University. Now that they're big time at 2 hours live on the USA Network, now you want to move them out? Why? You've already done enough damage to NXT and ruined the mystique of NXT by putting them in this situation. Now you want to take them out of their home completely. It's not a good thing, man. This is not a good thing. This is all about Vince McMahon's fucking ego. And again, I'm going to reiterate it. He's going to kill NXT, and he's going to water down NXT because he would rather put them in a position to fail in hopes of killing his competition. It just felt like they gave up. It really did. And I hope that they remain that way. I hope that they don't give a shit about ratings. Because they don't need ratings. They don't. I want to see the brand grow. But you're not allowing the brand to grow when you're putting them on Wednesday directly against AEW. I wish one of these brands would move to a Tuesday. This is why I wanted one to exist on one night and the other to exist on the other. You're not allowing NXT to grow by putting them in this position directly competing against something like a juggernaut in AEW. Tuesday Night Dynamite should have been Tuesday, and Wednesday should have been NXT. If you wanted them to grow, they need to grow on their own. And I guarantee you, WWE, Vince put them in this position because he can't help. He can't help himself. Once there's a taste of competition, he needs to be the only dog in the yard. And Triple H, I don't know how he's going to handle this. Because last year, we got War Games already being built. We were already in the midst, right in the middle of War Games being built. We knew what the War Games match was going to be last year. That is a defining factor in last year compared to this year. When we don't even know or have an iota of a clue what is going to be the rivalry in War Games. That's a problem. When we were watching NXT and we visualized what was going to happen in War Games already. It's October 10th. War Games is a month away. And we don't have a fucking idea about anything up and down that card. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I really don't. Hopefully, we get them starting to build storylines and giving us what NXT really is about. The reason why we all loved NXT is because they were storyline driven. They gave you engaging stories. And here we have a 2-hour show and really no stories are being told. Nothing. Why is Damien Priest attacking Pete Dunne? Why? Because he wants to make a name off himself? That's like some Smackdown live shit. It really is. Outside the Undisputed Era, there's no storylines. There's nothing. They need to get back to doing what they do. Telling stories and making those stories matter in the lead and the build-up to their next takeover. I see nothing of that right now. And again, I want to say it's not a bad show. It's not. But they could do better. We're going to go over everything, guys. Lio Rush versus Drew Gulak for the Cruiserweight Championship. Great match. I'm going to give you my thoughts on Lio Rush becoming the new Cruiserweight Champion. We have Rhea Ripley and her just destroying Aaliyah. That's not even the most important aspect of what happened with Rhea last night. She challenged, again, Shayna Baszler for the Women's Championship. That's something that I think WWE is planning for War Games. So we'll see what happens with that. And I got thoughts on Kushida and Walter, two undefeated talents in NXT. They go head-to-head. There has to be one winner, and there has to be one loser. We'll talk about what I think WWE did there and what I think is the right decision. And Isaiah Swerve Scott and Roderick Strong, to me, the match of the night. I want to see more of the Swerve on NXT. Thank you guys so very much for joining me here on the podcast. Make sure you hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed that little mini rant at the beginning. Let me know if you guys feel the same way. Also, on top of the thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that bell for all notifications. We are just at 113,000 subscribers. We got there this week alone, man. Almost 1,000 subs gained in this week alone. Thank you, Vince McMahon, for your blunder at Hell in a Cell, because the worse you are, the better I am. So thank you so very much for that, and thank you to all the new eyes and ears here for Off the Script. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and turn on that bell for all notifications. Make sure you guys check out all the other videos that you might have missed this week, man. There's a ton of content. We are here daily. I will kill myself at the end of all this, but I am here daily. We got Raw. We got Tuesday with Off the Script Elite, your only one-stop shop for AEW news and rumors. That's on Tuesday. Wednesday, Dynamite. Thursday, NXT. Friday, Smackdown. Saturday and Sunday, the flagship podcast, Off the Script, each and every weekend. Make sure you guys go and check everything out. Everything you might have missed is linked down in the description of this very video. And the podcast today is brought to you guys by Audible. audibletrial.com/offthescript. Make sure you guys go out there and get your 30 days free of their service, including one free audiobook. Yes, when you sign up, you're going to get 30 days and one free audiobook of your choice. Over 200,000 choices to choose from, a lot of which are wrestling related, being that this is a wrestling related podcast. Best part is, guys, if you don't like the service, you guys can cancel anytime in that 30 days and still get to keep your audio book for free. Yes, it's a great deal, and it supports the podcast. audibletrial.com/offthescript. NXT started off last night with a Cruiserweight Championship. Not just a Cruiserweight Championship, the NXT Cruiserweight Championship match. Lio Rush, the challenger, Drew Gulak, the champion. And I have had the pleasure of calling matches for Lio Rush while he was on the indies and he was welcomed into the House of Glory family. I know how good Lio Rush can be. I know how good he is. Monday Night Raw completely underutilized Lio Rush. I don't know whose idea that was to pair him with Bobby Lashley. In fact, I honestly thought it brought Lio Rush down to be paired with Bobby Lashley. So when he went away for a little bit and they ended that terrible gimmick and that terrible angle with Bobby Lashley, I was so happy. Now, for better or worse, I don't know how you guys feel about Lio Rush, but I'm glad he went away. The time away has clearly done him good. He looks like a different person. He feels like a different person. He looks more motivated. He looks more focused. And that's all that we could have possibly asked for Lio Rush to possibly make a return to the WWE. I know he's gotten in trouble. I know he's gotten in trouble with his mouth. I know he's gotten in trouble for being very hard-headed and ignorant. But man, the reason why they didn't let him go is the reasons that you seen last night in his match with Drew Gulak. Not only that, you can even go back to the match with Oney Lorcan, which I thought was better than this match with Gulak. He is an unbelievable talent, and at such a young age, he's not even out the door yet. You know, he's like your child, and you're sending him to his first day of school. There's so much more for him to do, and so much more for him to accomplish and learn. It's ridiculous how you could have someone like this just sitting on the sidelines, but I'm glad that he sat on the sidelines and got himself right, because this is the Lio Rush that I knew we were getting, and I'm glad we're finally getting it now on NXT. Main roster underutilized him. Main roster just completely shit all over Lio Rush. This is the Lio Rush I remember. This is the Lio Rush that is loved by this type of audience, and I'm glad that he's finally getting to showcase who he is. And NXT, I knew, because it always happens with NXT. When someone moves from the main roster back down to NXT, they always are put in a position to succeed, and they're always being utilized to what their strengths are. So I'm happy to see that. Drew Gulak has been great. Drew Gulak has been one of the top performers in all of WWE with his recent run and him recently capturing the Cruiserweight Championship. He's had a decent run. And Drew Gulak, obviously, is a WWE guy. They love him. Everything that you ask of him, everything you ask him to do, he's going to go out there and do it and break his back doing it in the process. I didn't know what was going to happen here going into this. They could either hotshot the title and make it a really big deal, or they could keep it on Gulak, who is a WWE guy, and, you know, whether you like Gulak or not, or if you've been paying attention to Gulak, you might think that he's had somewhat of a short run or a short reign as Cruiserweight Champion. So I didn't know where they were going to go with this. Hotshot the title, make a big moment to start NXT on week 2 during the Wednesday Night Wars with AEW, or keep it on the guy that's been one of the best talents in all of WWE for the year of 2019. Well, they hotshotted the title, if you even want to call it that. I don't necessarily want to call it hotshotting the title, but we do have a new Cruiserweight champion in Lio Rush. He beats Drew Gulak in what was a 12-minute great showcase for the Cruiserweights. This is exactly what we need to see moving forward from this title and this division on this show. And I would love to see this elevated to a takeover as well. I think that would be a great showcase for not only these types of guys, but the 205 Live brand as well. Lio Rush wins the Cruiserweight Championship in 12 minutes. He is the new Cruiserweight Champion. My thoughts on this are this. 205 Live is in limbo. Nobody knows what's happening with 205 Live. It is clearly getting lost in the shuffle with everything that's going on right now in the wrestling week. It's best if it's showcased like this with these types of guys on this show. It's a reset. Everything got a reset last week. Raw got a reset, AEW had a season premiere, NXT got a reset, and their season premiere, Smackdown got a reset, and their season premiere. Everything's getting a reset. 205 Live was just, again, just an anomaly, just floating out there. Nobody knows what's happening with it. Nobody gives a shit about it. This was their reset. This was their reset. How many people realistically gave a shit about Drew Gulak as the Cruiserweight Champion? How many people even knew Drew Gulak was the Cruiserweight Champion? How many people going into this knew Drew Gulak or who he was? How many of you knew what the Cruiserweight Championship was? Did you even know WWE had a Cruiserweight Championship? Probably not. Probably not. This is on the USA Network. You're trying to get new eyes. You're trying to create something from scratch again. New. You're starting anew. So instead of keeping the title on Drew Gulak, who we all know is the guy, you're going to give it to Lio Rush here, and you're going to get this moment and start anew. It's a fresh start. Now you got a new face. Now you know who he is. You've seen him on this show already. People are familiar with him. Oh, he's that guy, that 23-year-old who could do all these great things. Crowd loves him. I know him. I like him. They put the title on Lio Rush for that reason alone. Now, with Lio Rush and Drew Gulak, I'm assuming that this is not going to be the end. I don't think it should. I think these guys could go out there on a takeover, add 10 minutes to this thing, and they'll give you a fucking match of the year classic. But with Lio Rush winning the title, not only did they want to start anew with the Cruiserweights, I honestly felt if they did not, with that crowd reaction, Lio Rush was incredibly over. With that crowd reaction, I think it would have been a major letdown that they didn't give the title to Lio Rush after the crowd wanted so badly for him to win it. So I'm glad that they did it just based on that aspect. But this is a fresh start for the Cruiserweights, guys. This is why they did it. Lio Rush is the new Cruiserweight champion. He beats Drew Gulak in 12 minutes. Great match. Match started out like I anticipated with Lio Rush. He usually does the Spanish Fly. In the middle of the match, he went right for the Spanish Fly at the start of the bell. Gulak charged. He missed Spanish Fly. And Lio Rush got a quick 2 count. Over the top rope, tope suicida, Asai moonsault. And it started really hot and heavy. Towards the end of this thing, Rush was in control. He was hitting some kicks on Gulak. Gulak then turned Rush inside out with a massive lariat. Great sell there by Lio Rush on the lariat. Wednesday was a night of lariats, man. After Adam Hangman Page nearly took Guevara's head off, here we got Gulak turning Rush inside out. Both guys are down after that. It created some separation between the two. Gulak is up first. and the two reverse until Gulak hits a charging Rush with the Gulak. Rush reversed that into a pinning combination, then into a Dragon Sleeper. Cyclone crash by Gulak. Rush gets his legs on the ropes. You'd think, as smart as Gulak is, and the mat technical fucking wizard that he is, that he would hit the Gulak, and then he would get the Cyclone crash, and then go for a cover, and he would not hook the outside leg, when we all know that Rush's leg is just right there on the ropes, and it could be a rope break. Now, I don't know how you go about calling that. Gulak is too smart for that. You're not going to sit here and tell me that, oh, Gulak didn't know, he was in the moment. Give me a fucking break. Gulak is a fucking, he's like a Greg Maddux. Remember Greg Maddux pitching for the Braves, which I don't want to talk about because they fucking suck dick. I hope everybody on the team gets fired. He's like a Greg Maddux. Why would you not hook the outside leg in that? You can't tell me that Gulak didn't know that just situational environment that he was in. Come on. So he hooks the leg. Lio Rush gets his leg on the rope. Gulak then gets pissed. He then hooks the outside leg so it doesn't happen again, and Rush kicked out. Anyway, crowd is chanting, "This is awesome." Gulak sets Rush up top, and Rush punches his way out to regain control. Gulak falls back. Rush goes up top, hits a frog splash. Happy belated birthday to Eddie Guerrero. Then he goes back up for a final hour, which is his old finisher, but what's his finisher, but with a new name. It was the Dragon's Call. He's calling it the final hour, which I enjoy a lot better. And he goes up top. He hits the final hour, the split-legged frog splash. And the title changed hands after that. 1, 2, 3. We had Lio Rush winning the Cruiserweight Championship at 11 minutes. This was very good, and hopefully this is not the last time between these two. I'm glad that Lio Rush is finally getting a taste of some success in NXT. Hopefully he can maintain his attitude and just go about being a little bit more mature. The sky is the limit for Lio Rush. I am a big fan of what he does in the ring. He is so quick, he's so smooth, and it looks fucking great. And we'll talk about Lio Rush in a little bit because there's somebody on this roster I would love to see him go up against. And he was actually on this show tonight. Rush wins the title. After the match is over, William Regal enters the ring and starts to put the belt on Rush's waist. Gulak came in the ring again. People were booing. People didn't know what was going to happen. People thought that he was going to attack Lio Rush. But Gulak takes the title away from William Regal, and he presented the belt to Rush himself in a sign of respect. He shook his hand and then left. Gulak was like, "Let me do it, motherfucker. This is my title. Let me hand it to him." So I love that. It was awesome. And Lio Rush celebrated with the Cruiserweight Championship. Awesome match to start NXT. Rhea Ripley and Aaliyah. This wasn't even a match. 1 minute. Why is Aaliyah on this show? I don't know. Why is Aaliyah on this show? I don't know. Aaliyah's garbage. Aaliyah is garbage. She don't look bad. And the only reason why she's there is because she doesn't look bad. But the girl can't wrestle. And the girl should not be in the ring with Rhea Ripley. This one was pretty much leading the sheep to slaughter. And Rhea Ripley did indeed that. And she just reveled in all the blood that she shed on this night. Rhea Ripley wins in 1 minute. She got a Scorpion Deathlock reversed. A reverse Scorpion Deathlock. And then she did a Scorpion Deathlock swing. She swung this woman around and around and around. And it made me smile from ear to ear. And then she planted Aaliyah face first. And that was it. In the same position. Scorpion Deathlock reversed. Airplane spin-like move. Down on the mat. 1, 2, 3. And that was pretty much it for Miss Ripley. She grabs the microphone and says, "Shayna is without a doubt the most dominant female in NXT history." Rhea, I think you got to call Asuka up and say, "Bro, I'm sorry. Listen, I misspoke on NXT last night. I didn't mean to disrespect you by saying Shayna was the most dominant female in NXT history." Are you fucking kidding me? Now, I love Shayna, but I mean, to compare her reign to Asuka's, give me a break. Give me a break. Asuka never lost the championship. Shayna has. So you really can't base that, you really can't say that Shayna is the most dominant female in NXT history when Shayna had already lost the championship. This is a great run for her, but not better than Asuka. Come on now. Show some... This is a Vince McMahon thing, forgetting You got to show some respect to those who did it before. She says, yes, Shayna is dominant. She's tapped or snapped everybody, but not her. She's ready for Shayna Baszler. Get ready, bitch. I'm coming. That was pretty much it. I could see that happening at TakeOver. I don't see Rhea Ripley winning the championship. Or maybe, actually, I could see it, but at the same time, I can't, because every time I say Shayna's going to lose the championship, she's never going to lose that championship. If Rhea wins, they obviously have a story there. They could go either way. I thought Candice was going to beat Io. Clearly, that's not the case. I could see Rhea winning the title, and then WWE building up Tegan Nox. I don't really like Rhea as a babyface. She's over because she's cool. She's over because she's fucking dominant and she's a badass. But I want to see Rhea Ripley as a heel. I think she's much better portrayed as a heel. Then they can build up Tegan Nox and you could get a rematch of the Mae Young Classic from last year. And I think that would be a great story to tell. Tegan Nox overcoming this devastating career-ending injury to miss the finals of the Mae Young Classic, come back and get Rhea again. But this time it's not the finals of the Mae Young, it's for the NXT Women's Championship. So they got a few different avenues that they could go in. You got Shayna. You could have Shayna lose to Io. You could have Shayna lose to Bianca. So Bianca was on this show, Bianca Bel-Air, and she actually called out Rhea Ripley as well. So the NXT Women's Division, by far and away, they're not even in the same fucking universe compared to AEW. Showing you why they are the best women's division in all of wrestling right now. I love it. Rhea Ripley being added to this division is just a great thing, man. I love watching her, and I think she's awesome. Breezango versus Ever Rise. They could be spokesmen for Blue Chew. Ever Rise. Do you want to feel it when you're with your wife? Take a Blue Chew. You'll be like Ever Rise. I gotta think of something. I know that was pretty lame, but, Ever Rise, the unofficial spokesman for Blue Chew. Now, their music played. They were going up against Breezango, and Jackson Riker dragged both of these guys to the ramp, and they were just destroyed. One over his shoulder and one by his arm, dragging him on the floor. So we were going to get a match with Ever Rise and Breezango. Clearly, the Forgotten Sons were like, bro, you forgot us on all these weeks. We're on USA, and you forgot about us. Now we're going to make it happen. We're going to show you that we need to be on this show and forget Ever Rise. Breezango. They came out dressed as construction men. They legitimately looked like they were going to Chippendales. Legitimately. I could see this 100%. I was visualizing them, no homo, on stage, stripping with these types of outfits. You got Fandango there dancing with fucking the construction outfit on. And I don't know what you guys think of Breezango. I think they're great. When they're serious, they're on, they're great. But, man, it reminded me of something that I would see on Monday Night Raw. I really did think that. Like, I love them. I love the attitude. I love the just out there attitude. But is this going to fit in NXT? This was much more ridiculous than anything that they have done in NXT so far. I could deal with them coming out as like the fashion police and all that and the cop outfits. But going to the construction outfits, it just reeked of Monday Night Raw to me. Like, you got to be serious, bro. This here is the big leagues. This is a serious show. I'm not saying you can't be funny. I'm not saying you can't be, entertaining and just flamboyant. But you got to be serious. Which they were in this match. It just reeks of main roster to me. And I don't think that's going to work in the long run on NXT. So we got Breezango versus Cutler and Wesley Blake of the Forgotten Sons. This one went to the Forgotten Sons in 4 minutes. 4 minutes here. Forgotten Sons beat Breezango, which I did not understand. So we had Breezango get a hot tag from Tyler Breeze. Fandango gets a hot tag from Tyler Breeze. And he takes control. He hits a dive over the top rope. Fandango's really good. He is really, really good. Falcon Arrow, tag to Breeze. They go for the fashion faux pas. But the Forgotten Sons in the corner. They take control again for a second time. And Fandango hits a sunset bomb. It's just craziness everywhere. Riker is all over Breeze on the outside. Fandango hits him with a top rope, or a tope con hero. Followed up by a top rope suicida by Blake. Back in, the Sons hit the memory remains, which is, I believe, the stomp off the top rope. And that was pretty much it. Cutler and Blake win at 4 minutes. What was the point of building up Breezango with win after win after win for them to only lose to the Forgotten Sons? The Forgotten Sons are still not, I would say, a legit team that people want to see. They're just there. They just exist. You know? Why would you squander everything that you've built momentum-wise with Breezango to give it away in a match here that means nothing to the Forgotten Sons? I don't get that booking decision. I really don't. This was a mistake. Breezango should have won this thing. And Cutler and Blake win in 4 minutes. We had Keith Lee. Keith Lee has a segment on this show. He's got a hunger for battle. He's got more willpower than Dominik Dijakovic, and he ensures Dijakovic that he will bask in his glory. Lee and Dijakovic are going one-on-one in the main event again next week in a rubber match, they're billing it as, for NXT. So that should be interesting right there next week. What are they going to do differently? I don't know. What are they going to do and showcase that we have not seen already? We've seen a top rope Spanish Fly. We've seen a top rope Canadian Destroyer. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? That's the most interesting thing out of all this. How are they going to top what they've done already in a WWE ring? Hopefully they don't overdo it. Hopefully it is exciting. So we'll see what happens in the main event next week on NXT. Boa. Not the snake, not a boa constrictor. Boa. The first Chinese, I believe, what is he? The first Chinese-born NXT athlete ever? Or WWE athlete ever? Boa versus Cameron Grimes with his top hat. This was 9 seconds. 9 seconds. So Grimes comes. He distracts Boa and the referee. This leads to a double knee or a double stomp for the win. That was it. I wish I had more to tell you, but I was half asleep during this because I don't know. I don't know what it is with WWE booking Cameron Grimes in this manner. Does Cameron Grimes look like a guy that's going to win a match in 9 seconds every single time he's out there? Like, I know you want to fast track somebody and get him to be a legit guy in the eyes of the audience, but are you doing it right at 9 seconds every time he's in the ring? If you guys remember when Baron Corbin was in NXT, when he was the lone wolf, and he was first getting his feet wet in NXT, that was his gimmick. Winning in the shortest amount of time possible. The thing is with Grimes, he can wrestle. Baron Corbin at that time was green as grass. So why are you going about the Baron Corbin NXT method with Cameron Grimes? I don't look at Cameron Grimes and think, this guy's going to win this match in 9 seconds. It's just kind of silly. You're not utilizing him to the best of his abilities. That's what I think about Cameron Grimes in this situation. Killian Dane runs to the ring, and Grimes gets out of Dodge. He wants nothing to do with Killian Dane. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a program between the two. It might possibly be. Grimes got out of Dodge. He took his top hat, ran away. Boa was the unlucky one here, and Dane takes Boa, and he just destroys him. He pounds him in the corner, and then he goes to the announce table and slams him on the announce table where Mauro, Beth, and Nigel are sitting, and he destroys Boa here on NXT. I want to see more of Grimes. I don't want to see him win in 9 seconds. I want to see more of him, and I want to see him develop a natural feel with the audience. They're not doing that by putting him in this situation. Damien Priest, he speaks on attacking Pete Dunne, and he says that he did it for the cameras and the headlines. Dunn was just there for the taking as Priest is planning to move his way up the ladder in NXT. I love the way Damien Priest speaks. He's got one of those tones and one of those voices that when he speaks, he commands your attention. I want to see more of that, and I love the whole gimmick. He literally looks like Steven Dorff in Blade. He reminds me of a fucking vampire in Blade. He's got the limousines. He's got the dark character. He's got the sunglasses on. He's got the greased back hair. He gets into the limousine. He's got all these beautiful women with him. You know? He's Damien Priest. He's the Archer of Infamy. I think it's great. At least we got something of an explanation as to why he did it, but it's not enough for me to finally sink my teeth into. So is this going to be a long-term thing, or is this just going to be WWE using Pete Dunne to get Damien Priest where he needs to be so that he can start being a top contender on this brand as well? So we'll see what happens with that. Hour 2, Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Roderick Strong. This was awesome. This was the best match of the night, in my honest opinion. Remember when I mentioned a little bit ago that Lio Rush winning the Cruiserweight Championship, him getting his feet wet again and finding success in NXT? This is the guy that I would love to see go up against Lio Rush. Isaiah Scott has been featured on 205 Live before. I have seen him on 205 Live. I forgot who he was up against, but I think a Cruiserweight Championship match, if they want to start building to that for a possible takeover match, Lio Rush versus Isaiah Scott could be a match that steals the entire show in front of a large audience at a takeover show. I think that would be phenomenal. This was a great match with Roderick Strong. These two worked very well together. I don't know how. We've seen Cameron Grimes, we've seen Jordan Miles, we've seen Angel Garza, and they're all great in their own way. I don't know how we have not seen Isaiah Scott more than everybody else in that tournament. The breakout tournament that happened about a month and a half ago. I don't understand it. I expected him to win the tournament, and then he lost in the first round. This is a blue chip prospect. This is the guy. And he is a 10, 15 year veteran. I forgot what they said. Anywhere between 10 to 15 years he's been doing this. Former MLW champion. He was in Lucha Underground. It's ridiculous. He played Killshot in Lucha Underground. Just go back and watch his Lucha Underground work. You would see how great he is. This was a showcase match for Isaiah Swerve Scott. Hopefully we start seeing more of him and more of that character develop on NXT television. I want everybody to care about him. Him and Roddy put on a great match. Back and forth. Swerve is kicking his way out of trouble late in the match. Strong is so good at what he does. He could bring anybody to a great match. Strong delivers a forearm. Lariats by Swerve. Uppercut in the corner. Dives with an elbow from the second rope on top of Roddy. Undisputed Era comes out on the ramp. Super kick and a DDT by Swerve for a big 2 count. Cole and O'Reilly Fish, they are standing on the ramp cheering Strong. Strong sets Swerve to the outside, but Swerve slides back in the ring and hits a German and a flatliner. So a German suplex and a flatliner. High kick for a long 2 count. Swerve goes to the top and Strong rolls to the apron on the side in which the Undisputed Era is standing there on the ramp. Swerve sweeps the leg and kicks Strong in the face. Slingshot, double stomp over the ropes on the outside. Now, this was a great spot. Roddy was hanging off the bottom rope to the outside to the floor. Swerve jumped off the apron and double stomped him to the concrete. That was really nice. Undisputed Era distracts Swerve long enough for Strong to hit some offense on Swerve, and then he gets the end of Heartache and then the Stronghold, and that was it. Roderick Strong wins in about 11 minutes. This was a great showcase match for Isaiah Scott. We need to see more of Isaiah Scott on WWE television. I'm a big fan of his. I was a big fan of his coming on into NXT. But this was nothing more than getting Roddy in a match so that he could look strong before he goes on another NXT, I believe it's in 2 weeks, another NXT show in 2 weeks, and defends that North American Championship against the Velveteen Dream. Great showcase for Swerve. Great showcase for Roddy, being he's the North American Champion. After the match, we got Adam Cole on the microphone. Swerve is good, but he's no Roderick Strong, he says. Velveteen Dream then shows up on the NXT screen on the stage, and then everything goes black, and we see him on a podium right above Morrow, right by the commentary table. He says that some of Undisputed Era is great, but allow him to show Strong what his reality is. He points to the big screen, and there's a shot of Roddy on a couch with his championship looking very Playgirl-esque Shawn Michaels with the North American Championship. He's all naked. Dream says he will strip Roddy of the title, and he'll show everyone why Roddy just doesn't measure up. He shows that same picture again, and the belt disappears with the shots of a tiny little Roddy down below. And Undisputed Era is clearly heated at this moment. Crowd was going crazy over the visual of Roddy with his non-existent private parts. Undisputed Era is yelling at Velveteen Dream on the ramp, and out comes, at the same time, they're all so heated about what Velveteen Dream just did. Tommaso Ciampa comes out, and he starts dragging a crutch that is very camouflage-esque, It was wrapped in camouflage, the same as his pants. He drags the crutch to the ring, and Undisputed Era roll out of there. They don't want nothing to do with Ciampa. He gets in the ring with a steel chair and sits there. So Ciampa shows up at ringside. Audience is losing their minds. Everybody loves Ciampa. Ciampa has a chair and a crutch. He sits in the middle of the ring. He grabs a microphone, sits in the chair. He says, "Goldie!" He doesn't even mention Adam Cole. He says, "Goldie, Daddy's home." Everybody went crazy. Everybody went crazy. Daddy's home chants start in Full Sail University. This was awesome. This was very, very good. Dakota Kai versus Bianca Bel-Air. This is another one of those things that I enjoyed watching. I just didn't get the ending. I didn't get why this match was even booked. Dakota Kai has been built up in her return as somebody that's overcome the injury, and it looked like WWE was about to skyrocket her into the NXT Women's Division. And here they are putting her against Bianca Belair, another woman who can't really lose, and Bianca Belair wins in 10 minutes. So this was awesome. I love the back and forth between these two. Belair wins with the KOD, and that was pretty much it. Belair slapped Kai, powerbomb reversed into a roll-up, crucifix by Kai for 2, big kick by Kai at the end, punch by Belair, back and forth with punches and kicks. Belair eventually wins with the KOD, and that was pretty much it. 10 minutes, Bianca Belair wins. Belair gets on the microphone. She says Rhea Ripley thinks she's the one to beat Shayna Baszler. No. Belair says that if someone wants a piece of Shayna, they have to go through the EST first. I didn't get why this match was even made. Bianca, yes, needs to be built up strong, and they squandered her momentum months ago. They started putting her in a situation where she started to win and get wins and wins. But Dakota Kai losing already after being back just 2 weeks, it doesn't make any sense to me. So Belair and Rhea Ripley are the two women right now outside of EO, that are going to be in line for Shayna Baszler's Women's Championship. So we'll see what happens with that. Same thing with Dominik Dijakovic. He had a segment, just like Keith Lee did. He said that he's ready for Keith Lee next week. Again, that is the main event of NXT next week. We had a Finn Balor segment. They started showing his history on the main roster, being drafted to Monday Night Raw in 2016, then his Universal Championship match at that year's SummerSlam over Seth Rollins. And they showed his return to Full Sail with him saying that he's home. He's finally back home in NXT. It was a great moment. We'll see what happens with Finn Balor. Kushida and Walter in the main event. This one was very Walter and Tyler Bate-esque. I love the big man versus small man. I love Kushida and his style. Walter is one of my favorites in all of wrestling, man. The psychology that Walter emits in that ring is just so beautiful. It really is just a great thing to see. This was awesome. Walter was throwing his weight around. Walter was throwing his size around. This was all about Kushida coming back from behind. Kushida goes high, hits a big tomahawk chop and a leapfrog basement dropkick. Walter bails to the apron. He gets out of dodge. Walter attempts to tie up Kushida. Kushida reverses and goes for a sunset bomb to the floor, but Walter hangs on and stomps Kushida down. Now they're on the apron, going back and forth, exchanging chops. Walter charges into the ring post. Kushida moved out of the way. Kushida DDTs Walter from the apron to the floor. Big chance of NXT at this part. Walter goes for the hoverboard lock, but Walter can't. But he can't get Walter to the mat. Walter reverses it into a sleeper. And his sleeper looked absolutely devastating. Seriously. He smothered Kushida in the sleeper. So he gets the sleeper. Walter reverses it into a sleeper. Kushida is fading fast. He reaches the ropes. We had the O'Connor roll by Kushida. He gets a 2 count. Sleeper by Walter, reversed into a cross arm breaker. Walter locked the wrists, so Kushida didn't get the hold applied. Walter leans forward into a pinning combination for 2. Small package by Kushida, also gets a 2. Hook kick by Kushida. Walter hits a big boot and a German to separate both he and Kushida. Followed up by a half Nelson pump handle slam for a 2 count. Walter goes up top. And I love the fact that Nigel brought us back to TakeOver when he beat Pete Dunne for the UK Championship. He beats Pete Dunne with a top rope splash. And that's exactly what Walter said McGuinness was going for. He goes up top looking for that big frog splash. Kushida rushes to his feet, kicks him down. Kushida goes up there with Walter. They're battling it out on the top rope. He gets a hoverboard lock at the top. Flips Walter off the top rope in the hoverboard lock. And they land on the mat, Everybody's going crazy. Walter rolled around, finally reached the rope. At about 15 minutes in, we got a damn near convincing end to this match, but Walter was still alive. Kushida, dropkick Walter, chops by Walter, kicks by Kushida. Kushida went for the hoverboard lock again, but Walter hit a fucking shotgun dropkick. He hit a shotgun missile dropkick, a power bomb, and he kicked out. Kushida kicked out of all that. So Walter was like, you know what? I'm going to end this motherfucker. He picked Kushida up and he hit a ripcord lariat for the win, and that was it. 17 minutes. Walter defeats the undefeated Kushida, and if there was one man that Kushida was going to lose to, they got that loss out of there. They got it erased. There's no better man to lose to than Walter, because it was done in convincing fashion. Instead of them going in against somebody that isn't as good as Kushida and having it be a fluke, Kushida looks strong, and Walter can't really beat him. He's the UK champion, right? Look at the size of this man. Look at the ring general. Why would anybody be down in the dumps after losing to Walter? This was a great match. This was a great situation to get that loss on Kushida's record. There's no better way to do it. I would rather them do it legit like this and have him fucking come back and give him a fighting chance than lose in a fluke-like fashion to somebody that doesn't deserve it. Walter deserves it. It was legit. It looked good. And that's all I could say about that. Walter wins at 17 minutes. He defeats the undefeated Kushida. Next week, we got the rubber match. They're calling it. They're billing it as the rubber match. Dijakovic versus Keith Lee, as well as Damien Priest versus Pete Dunne. And they announced Angel Garza versus Tommaso Ciampa. There was a little situation here after the Goldie comment. Goldie, Daddy's home. They showed Tommaso Ciampa at the end of that segment with Kathy Kelly. Angel Garza was about to be interviewed by Kathy Kelly, and then she seen Tommaso Ciampa walking down the hallway. She asked him about what had just happened in the ring, and then Angel Garza was speaking in Spanish, and he mentioned something about Tommaso Ciampa in Spanish, and Ciampa fucking forearmed him in the face. He dropped like a sack of potatoes. Kathy Kelly then asked Tommaso Ciampa, Tommaso, what exactly did Angel Garza say to you in Spanish? I have no idea. And he walks away. Thought it was awesome. So that led to a match. So now we got Angel Garza versus Tommaso Ciampa in a match next week. That should be a great match. Can't wait to see what those two guys do. And that's the first time Tommaso Ciampa is in the ring since before WrestleMania. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he shakes off that ring rust. So we'll see what happens there. Velveteen Dream and Roderick Strong was announced for the North American Championship, but that's not happening next week. That's happening the week after. So we got that to look forward to as well. And the show went off the air with Imperium and Walter holding up the UK Championship. Really good show. It wasn't better than AEW and NXT. I really do feel like they kind of didn't even bother with the ratings. Like they kind of, I don't want to say forfeited, but they kind of succumbed to the pressure and they just went about doing business as usual, which I hope that they do. But if you're going to go about doing business, get back to what NXT did best, telling stories. That's what they need to do. Worry less about what they're doing over there and worry about stories. Don't put matches together for the sake of filling 2 hours and just putting on great matches to compete. Give me stories. I'm not saying everyone has to be in a story, but give me some substance. We're 1 week away from War Games, and we don't have any iota of an idea what's happening a month from now at TakeOver. So that's all I am really concerned with. Other than that, a really great show for NXT, but I enjoyed this week Dynamite more compared to NXT. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Thank you guys so very much for all of your support, and I will see you right back here for more content tomorrow. We got some gaming content going up in the morning, and then SmackDown Live. The draft is starting tomorrow. Let's see how WWE fucks this one up. It's going to be very interesting. Thank you guys so much. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and I will see you right back here tomorrow with more content and the draft starting on SmackDown Live. See you then.